right, Christie, you're first on the agenda.
Christie Clouser, Bannock County Comptroller, sorry to keep getting that late. Same day mail policy, so I brought this before you, I don't remember when,
Oh,
on
a while ago.
8/5. Oh, well, on 8/5 I sent it to departments, I think we met right before that. The only suggestions I received back from department heads is the sheriff's office has some concerns just simply because they didn't budget for the ability to have same-day meals. For instance, they just went and got 5 vehicles down in Utah from being outfitted, and they sent 5 officers. That could be $60 right there. And depending on when they had, when they were in Bingham County for that shooting, they may need to pay people then, so they had some concerns of being able to fund this year.
All I can say is, at the end of budget year this year, they're finding things to buy.
Well, they usually
So-
hold back, just simply because they don't want to overspend. So I totally agree with you. They probably would have the funds, but what I pointed out to them is within this policy, we just put same-day meals may be approved.
No.
Well,
So
and I think it
that
should
is
be
now.
May, because the whole thing is if
So-
you are gonna send people, you need to be cognizant of that fact. If you're gonna have them work, either you need to make sure that they have adequate time to either they can have a meal taken with them, provide an MRE, have a, whatever you're
They
doing,
usually just take a bite on their own.
but,
Because if they're in town,
yeah.
they still go get meals on their own.
Yeah.
So anyways, so that was the one concern from them.
And that department I've seen in every restaurant in town.
Yeah.
The whole group.
Yeah.
They
And
go to
always
lunch
buy their
together.
own, so they're pretty good with that.
But what I mean though is they go to pick up vehicles,
Yeah.
and if you're gonna make them travel, and they're on a time hack and all that other stuff, that's part of the. I mean, you're gonna look at the either we pay to have it shipped here or we go get it.
Yep.
So, but the pay to go get it is not only the time of the officers, but if you're gonna have to have somebody transport and move, you wanna make sure they're fed and ready to go, so they're not having a problem driving.
Yeah.
You know.
The only other, we also had input from Obi, the coroner, when, we were giving him the rundown of the do's and don'ts. He mentioned that at the state, their policy was 12 hours being gone and, not or, but and 50 miles one day. So, food for thought. Currently, in case you don't remember what the policy is, it just says, same-day meals may be approved if travel is greater than 150 miles one way or if the duration of the travel is greater than 5 hours round trip. To receive reimbursement, itemized receipts must be turned in with the meal reimbursement form with costs to be kept in alignment with the per diem rates for the area of travel. Please remember to turn in the business purpose of the meal, location of travel, and those in attendance. If any supporting documents can be provided as backup documentation, please attach. So,
And when we talked about it originally, we talked about shortening the miles, didn't we?
yeah, originally I had it at 200 miles and 6 hours round trip. And so what I read to you was 150 miles in 5 hours.
That's good.
Okay.
But I have an or, so I don't know if you want it to be and. 150 miles and a duration of 5 hours?
And right now, let's put or.
Okay.
Honestly, it's gonna come down to supervisors and talking to their people. And if it gets out of hand, we'll
You're in back.
have a little further discussion, but
Okay.
like Terrell says, $30
Yeah.
for a meal for somebody to go and do something representing the county.
Really not, it's gonna be, if it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, max is gonna be $12
Yeah.
if it's in state.
Well, and the whole thing too is,
So-
especially
I had a
if
hamburger yesterday and it was $14.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's,
And granted, we would reimburse the 14 because it's,
it's within the.
but then that's the other thing we'll have to talk about as we start coming in is, okay, so if it's $12, how close is in alignment? Is
Yeah.
18, is 15?
yeah.
But we can work that through, and if you want me to go ahead with this, then what I'll do is put it in the policy, bring it before you to approve formally, and then maybe when we have a department head meeting, present it out to all county departments, and then you can provide that input of, this is just the first step, and we'll see how it goes, and if we have any problems with it, we may have to change it.
Yeah.
Like we like to say, it's a working document.
Don't abuse it, and we'll be okay. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
so 150 and 5?
Yeah.
Okay. The next item I have for you is the Marsh Valley Canal grant request. So we, Mike Jagoski, Michelle and I called, chat around with, Branson Civil Engineers.
Mhm.
He's the one that, I don't think he's the one that presented.
He was here, but he
He was
wasn't
here,
one.
okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't here that day, so I wasn't sure. We called him, talked to him about the ins and outs of this grant that they want us to do, why we should do it, and what it would entail. He said that Franklin County had one for $300,000, and their outside auditor didn't have a problem with being the sponsor. We told him we didn't feel like Bannock County would be a sponsor. This is a subrecipient all the way.
Mhm.
We currently don't have procedures for subrecipient situations, but also there's a lot of questions that we would need to answer, and also the commission would need to be responsible for, because this project requires power of eminent domain, permits and licenses to be purchased. There are, what are some of the project sponsor we have to have a plan document. We have to make sure that the project is being completed appropriately. We have to do follow-up on the plan. Michelle has a whole list of questions that, responsibilities that we would have to abide by because this is a federal grant.
Yes.
Yep. So, were you present? You were on that day? Okay. I called Camille with Franklin County to say, okay, how is it that you were just the sponsor and got around the subrecipient situation? And she said that she presented this to her outside auditor, who, well, it's Scott Bond, and he felt that they were in a good situation, that this could just be a sponsor, it would not throw them into a single audit. I said, okay. So I asked Chad how much the grant was gonna be. He said anywhere between, it could be up to $25 million.
That would throw us into it.
Well, we're already gonna be in
Yeah.
a
That
single
would,
audit.
that would do it,
situation.
that would do it anyway.
Yeah.
Just let,
But that alone, so that would mean, once we're in a single audit situation, then they look for major categories. This would probably be
Mhm.
its own category, depending on how much the grant is. Even if it's $300,000,
Yeah,
it's gonna be its
yeah.
own.
Mhm.
So I spoke with Whitley. I talked to Fred before he came in and visited with you guys about the management letter.
Mhm.
And I said, do you think this could be a subrecipient? And he's like, or if this could be a sponsor, and he's like, no, it's a subrecipient.
Yeah.
So his recommendation was, this is gonna be a lot of work. I told him our office was gonna be stretched thin enough with everything we have going with ARPA, new software, everything else. He's like, I wouldn't do it.
What's the administrative fee that we can take on top of that grant? Is that a 7% or 10%
Here's
of the
the problem.
federal?
I've not seen the grant document,
Okay.
so I don't know.
Okay. Well, see,
If we could keep 10%, maybe
yeah,
we could hire someone else to take
To
care of it.
just run
but-
that.
yeah,
Grant.
and that's what I'm talking about. I get what the grant wants to do,
Mhm.
and I get what they're doing, and it's actually some pretty important and it's some cool stuff if we can get it done. But we're not going to be the ones that are subsidizing the grant to get done for somebody else. If there is an administrative fee that can be taken that allows us either to have an outside auditing firm that does, or grant management type firm that can manage it for us, and we just sign off on it, or we have for staff or whatever, I'm okay with that. But I am not okay with us doing all that.
Well, and I think that fee's gonna have to cover somebody managing it, but it's also gonna have to, you guys are gonna have to go through, publications.
Yep.
And, I mean, the publication
costs.
costs they can cover, but I'm not sure how they're gonna cover public hearing costs.
Well, somebody's gonna have to
'Cause
supervise the
didn't have to
project.
sit.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be ongoing.
It'll be engineering.
You're
It'll
gonna-
be, Mike is gonna have to add that to his plate.
I just say no.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Before you make that decision, did you see the follow-up? I put this as part of the agenda. There was a, email from David Allen, the president of the Marsh Valley Canal Company.
And you-
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
You sent that email out to us.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that
I
I
read that.
acknowledge that he presented that,
Fact,
trying
it's right
to
here.
Yep.
sway you to move forward with the grant.
And I appreciate it, and I understand, but, go ahead and let the city of Downey and city of Irma, or
I think they are
Virginia,
gonna,
as
I think it's the
agency.
county that would have to do it. I think it's the county function is why how the federal government wrote it. And like I said, I'm not 100% dead on it, but I'm not going to even, unless they can answer the questions of how do we pay for it and how do we manage it. If it can be net neutral to the county, where we don't have to pay out expense, and we have that taken care of in the administrative fees of the grant, then I'm willing to have the conversation. But if we cannot address that, we're not gonna have your guys' staff and money that we're going to spend so somebody else can do a bunch of work and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Our auditor suggested that we do not do it.
Yeah, that's where I go. That's like asking legal counsel and then saying, actually, legal, you're probably wrong. I'm gonna go out
Well,
on my
but
own.
like I said, without knowing,
That's a meeting tomorrow.
without knowing what the total cost of the grant is, and what I'm saying is if the administrative fee of the grant is 10%, and you can take 10% and it's a semi-itemized list, and they allow us to keep general impact fees on it, and it's a $25 million grant, and we can keep $2.5 million because we administered a grant and we're not a direct cost
I
the
guarantee
county.
you they're not getting that kind of money.
Well, and here's the other thing.
300,000.
Well, even
What's the
300,000, they'll give us 30 grand. I
30
mean,
grand,
yeah.
No.
And you're not gonna do
for
it.
somebody
Yeah.
to be the supervisor over the project.
Yeah.
We
Doesn't
don't have-
work.
we don't
Well,
have
no,
the
there is a supervisor,
manpower.
and that's that engineering firm.
Yeah.
That's why they want us to do it.
Yeah, and that's, I asked him,
Yeah.
I said, what's in it for you? And he said, oh, well, we get to do this for other people and we keep most of the admin costs and stuff like that. Depending on what the grant application looks like, we currently do not have within, federal grant procedures, we don't have a definition of administrative fees. So unless they allow us to use the de minimis rate of 10%, we may not even be able to charge
Yeah.
them.
And that's why I said, not knowing that, it's
So.
like, I would agree with the auditors with no. If they had it all put together and say, hey, these are your fees, this is where it is, we're not doing any of that, we're not doing it. No, I think, and I even think the auditors, if they had that information, probably say, why wouldn't you do that? But if you don't, if we're expending it, there's no reason to do it.
So I will reply to David Allen, and then Chad Brown, and John Hyde, I can't remember, I think he may work with Chad Brown, I'm not sure, but I'll see who he is. I'll just reply to all of them. I'll CC you, Ernie, if that's okay, and then just say, after meeting with the commission, the decision has been made not to move forward. It's gonna put too much of a strain on the county at this time. If you have any questions, contact.
We've been
Commissioner.
advised not to do it.
Okay.
Plain and simple, yeah.
Okay,
They can call me.
cool. Okay.
All right,
All right.
all right, thanks. Hal?
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hal Jensen, Planning Director. I have with me Assistant Planner Tristan Borkland. She'll take the majority. I'll just do a quick introduction. With a new comprehensive plan and an old ordinance, we're starting to flesh out particular conflicts. We have found some difficulties in coordination between the two documents relative to future land use map amendments and rezonings. And so Tristan will share with you, based upon a task of putting together documents for a public hearing, we are starting to find out when things are denied or things are tabled. It makes a reference to an appendices, and we don't have anything in the appendices of the comprehensive plan. So she will share with you what's coming for potential public hearings, for hearing amendments, et cetera, and get the comprehensive plan where it needs to be. So I'll turn the time to Tristan.
Okay. So after the 2021 comprehensive plan was approved, I started looking at what criteria council and commission uses to decide whether to approve a rezone or a future land use map change. And I thought a lot of them were fairly redundant. So as I was trying to figure out where those criteria came from in the old comprehensive plan, I couldn't find them in the new comprehensive plan. So I finally found that they were listed in Appendix C of the 2008 Comprehensive Plan, which now no longer exists in the new comprehensive plan.
We have any appendix as of yet?
We do have appendix, which was another addition to an amendment that we'd like to propose, is cleaning them up a little bit, because within the phases that JUB did, all of that appendix has appendices within it, and so without page numbers, it's really confusing which appendix you're actually looking at.
Let's clean it up.
So there's some things that we wanted to make you aware of that you've been presented the difficulties that we have with the two documents. And so we'll see more of us as we start to flesh out more and more. And this is one that's critical. We currently have a flumen rezone that was applied for that was denied. We understand that the process is, even though it was a denial from council and there was not an appeal file, it still needs to come before the commission so that it can be heard based upon the wording and the language of the document. And some of that is confusing to us as well, and so we're working to get those items clarified. This is going to be the first one.
Well, thank you for your work. We appreciate that. I mean, we understand that.
We'll be working with Christie to get this scheduled for advertisement and a
Yep.
public hearing.
So what would need to happen though is we would need to have a prepared for, come back before us for an actual advertisement to be approved to go in, and then we'll need to do a public hearing, that comment, that kind of stuff.
It also needs to go
Yep.
to Brian for legal review prior to that.
Yeah. That's just implied. That's just, all
Better
Brian has to do.
understood.
Yeah. That's the,
Would you like it to also go to Planning and Development Council? So in the 2008 Comprehensive Plan, any amendment, whether it's minor edits or future land use map edits, would have two public hearings, one with council, one with commission. Right now, we have kind of a vacuum
I
because that's
find
not
it-
in place.
I find it redundant, and the other thing is the land use council acts inside the authority and the rules of the left and right, which we give them. And so they don't approve the left and the right. They operate, it's like a football team that's writing the rules as they're playing for the ref to follow. The refs, we write the rules, we set it for them, and then they conduct the game inside those rules. That's how it should be thought of. And so I don't believe that it should go to them. I don't think it's appropriate, actually. So, no.
That was a long no.
But justification for that is just not,
Yes.
no, that is an organization that acts inside our authority. They don't act with authority, they act inside as representatives of our authority.
Well, under their tasks, they make recommendations
Yes,
to the commission.
yes.
Commission being the legal body, acts upon any legal document, and the comprehensive plan as a legal guiding document should be acted upon by the commission.
Yes, not by them.
So we can skip one?
I believe so.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anything else, Kristen? Is that clarified?
You're on a roll, come on, you need anything else going on right now?
Oh, I was just, that analogy of a football team making the rules as they go, isn't that how government works?
Pretty much, pretty much. Except they would be writing the rules for a baseball game and they're playing football.
Thank you.
They do a great job of keeping us in the loop.
No.
Adam,
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Adam McKinney, Electronic 911 Communications Director today. Today I brought an issue before you to start an official conversation about some tower equipment in Downey that is purchased with 911 funds. I'll just give you a little backstory on this, and then you guys can tell me where you'd like to proceed, what we've already done. On the 16th of August, I was contacted by the chairman of the Downey Fire District, Chairman Sorensen. He mentioned to me that he had been contacted by an outside agency asking if they could lease some space on a tower that is attached to the Downey Fire District. This is an 80-foot radio tower. He gave me a little bit of background on it. At the time, I was under the impression that they wanted to basically do away with that tower, but in clarification, it turns out that they would like to utilize that tower. But in finding that out, he mentioned that the tower has claim to it by a private person who As I did some research, went back through and found, I contacted Day Wireless, I went through Gordy's documentation, and I found that this tower, a gentleman named Bryce Hollingshead contacted Gordy in 2017 and asked him for permission to move this tower from the Idaho Transportation Department, which is where Bannock County 911 had erected the tower. Going and talking with Christy, it sounds like the tower was erected sometime in the mid-2000s, 2007. We don't have an exact date. But they were going to use it for a 700 megahertz radio repeater. We couldn't get a line of sight back to our Pebble Creek location, so they built the Egan Tower site, which is still in use today. This tower basically languished at the ITD site unused for a while. And this gentleman, Bryce, coming before Gordy as a representative of the Downey Fire District, asked if he could move the tower from the ITD department to the Downey Fire District. At the time, Gordy went through the legal department and assigned some surplus value to the tower and started the process to transfer that tower to the Downey Fire District, not to this gentleman. He felt that this gentleman was acting on behalf of the fire district, but in hindsight, we've now found that this was not necessarily the case. The Downey Fire District did have the tower relocated and reconstructed and put up at the tower, or at the fire district, and then this gentleman began utilizing the tower to run an internet service provider for the city of Downey, utilizing some of the space in the fire district for the server equipment and the antenna equipment, the backhaul equipment. The reason this became an issue just recently is, as I mentioned, another company came to the fire district and asked if they could lease some space on that tower, and at that point the fire district realized that they did not control that tower. They went back to this gentleman who had erected the tower and put his stuff on it and said, what will it take for us to be able to get more equipment put on that tower? He said, I'm not allowing you to do that. It's not your tower. Chairman Sorensen asked, could I see the agreement you have with the county? He was unable to produce an agreement. I went through legal and did quite a bit of due diligence on this. I went back to Day Wireless. I dug through every agreement that Gordy had. I had dug through all 10 years of his email. And the email that's in the agenda is where this dead ended. It dead ended with Gordy telling this gentleman, I will get you some more information on the tower, and that's it. And this gentleman took it upon himself to move said tower, and it's now on the Downey Fire District's property and being used. So the issue as of today, and I kind of hope that Chairman Sorensen would be here to give you a little more detail, but the issue is Downey Fire District would like to use that tower. They would like to put an antenna on it. They also would like to rectify the situation that they don't control that tower. But this guy feels he controls that tower, and as mentioned, it was purchased with 911 funds, so it's absolutely county property, currently located on a county-produced or county-funded piece of land, and so that's kind of where we're at, and I just like guidance from you guys as to where we take this next.
And he is running a private
Yes.
business off the tower in the Downey Fire building.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we just give it to the fire district and let them deal with it.
And that's exactly what Chairman Sorensen had requested. That's exactly what I had thought as well.
I want the guy charged.
All right,
That's where I'm at.
prosecutors, here's your due diligence, Brian. We just had this conversation in his office about,
He lied about being part of the Downey Fire District. He lied about everything that he said, and he's been running out of Downey Fire office using their power.
Yes.
Or it's
That's
not
what I understand.
Not our power, their
Yeah,
power.
that's what I understand. It's Downey Fire District's location.
And then tell them, no, you can't use the facility? Come on.
would you please?
Yeah, and he did.
Okay.
He did not have express permission from anyone from the county to move the tower in the first place. He just took it upon himself and moved it.
Let's
so.
refer this matter to the prosecutor's office.
Okay.
That is the
What's your feelings? Legal?
Here you go.
We can always look into whatever someone's concerned about. Always look into it.
Right
I
now,
won't give a lot of.
I'd trespassing. I'd shut the power off, and I'd lock the closet and wouldn't allow him on the property.
Ernie's feeling spicy today.
You know how much money he's made off of that thing too.
Well, and I feel that
He's
it makes
running
sense.
an internet system in Downey.
Yes, absolutely. If we turn the ownership of that tower over to the Downey Fire District, it's fairly straightforward. That was the direction Gordy was going to in the first place, and if we do that, they can handle whatever goes from that point as to if the ownership would be theirs. And as a county levy-supported agency, we can do that, is what it sounded like with legal.
That's what I was getting at, is it's gonna be a matter with the, I mean, yes, the tower was moved, and I understand that. I do recall there was a discussion in the Board of Commissioners about this item. And I don't know if there was, we might want to research into that further, because that was before you guys, that was my first year in office.
Yeah, it was 2017.
I remember something vague about that, and I do think that there possibly might have been a commissioner that's no longer in office that might have told somebody to do something. Just saying. So.
I will say, we researched this from both sides, and we were
Yes,
unable
okay.
to find any type of signed agreements or method, understandings. We don't have anything like that from either
He
side.
has no proof himself.
No, but I don't want to be in a state where there might have been something different, so I would think we should get
We'll
minutes.
search out some minutes and
Refer to
see
legal.
if we can find anything.
Okay?
It still doesn't give him the authority to go on down his property and
Nope.
put the tower, still doesn't give him authority to run a business.
To take the tower,
Out
that's
of-
the main, that's
To
the main.
move the tower is,
movement of the
yeah,
tower,
that's the original
our-
issue is he
That is
moved
our
it
issue,
with-
is he's
yeah.
moved the tower. It's, now, use of the tower, yes, would be another possible issue, but everything else internal to the fire district is the fire district's mess. And so that's why I say, refer to legal. Clerk, if you could please do some research on minutes, and then I think we should reconvene at a later time.
Okay?
With
Sounds
that,
good to
Mr.
me.
Chairman, would be my recommendation.
That's fine, that's fine.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Terrell's being the calm one today. What's, okay. Is there?
I read this first thing when I come in this morning and, buddy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I find it. I think we were gonna have a talk about I thought we were gonna have a conversation about two-factor authentication, but Jeff's gone, so that's why we were gonna talk about it. Yeah, we didn't get it done. Yeah, we didn't get it done. So, all right.
All right, you're up, Scott.
Fire it up, let's go. Hey, Ernie's spicy today. So
I'm
you better be
hearing
careful,
that,
man.
so
You're gonna have.
kind of for these, Ernie might try to buy you off with some of his proceeds for another week or so. Which make you a silent business partner.
This guy,
Yeah. I was trying to do it here.
All right, so, Scott Crowther, Business Manager and Event Director. The first item I have for today is a little bit embarrassing for me, not a little bit, quite a bit embarrassing for me. Because I take great pride in what we do and the services that we offer to the members of our community and to the people that use our facilities. In June, we had an event that occurred in the amphitheater. It was a full price event, nothing, didn't require anything from our staff other than to give them a clean, usable facility. And at the day that this happened, I was off with a medical procedure, and I had assumed that it had gone the way we had planned it. At the time, we were using a lot of temp workers, and we had people that no longer work with us. And in talking with this partner in the community, that is not what we delivered. And I did not know that until just the other day when we talked about the invoice and actually collecting payment on this. And I know the things that she talked about were true. I verified it with one of our current staff members that we did not clean the facility, that they came in and they cleaned the facility and they cleaned the chairs, and there was just so many issues. And they were, again, they love the facility, love the complex, they want to continue to use the complex, but we did not deliver on our end. And so they are not here asking for a waiver of fees. I am here asking for a reduction in the fee. I don't feel that it is fair for us to charge them full fee and not deliver on our side. And so that is, I would like to charge them a 50% fee for the use of the amphitheater that day.
I have no problem with that.
Nope.
I mean, and thank you for coming in and doing this. It's a whole lot better than dragging a bunch of people in here.
That's fine.
Say, I was up there at that time and when we was mowing and there was a lot of activity going on. Like I said, we didn't deliver, and 50%, that's where I was, as you was talking, that's where I was kinda set on myself.
What was the event?
It was, the United Way of Southeast Idaho held a
Yep.
thank you dinner for their sponsors.
Yep, no, that's fine. That's,
So it was a private event where they just brought in some local music, and they provided a dinner for them. And again, the venue looked decent because they made it look
Okay.
decent.
I'm okay with that. Mr. Chairman, I move that we would approve a 50% reduction on the United Way event as indicated due to the lack of services provided.
Under the recommendation
Under the recommendation of the director. So, yeah.
we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Quick question on that. Do you have a lot of events that are still owing?
We are invoicing now. We have a better process now than we had then. And so I think we have invoiced everybody that is outstanding, but we're still trying to work through that. And that's
So along that line, why do we not make them pay ahead of time?
well, they're supposed to pay the deposit, and then they're supposed to pay the day that they use it. But a lot of, again, this is,
I think that's part of the policy we need to look at.
this is.
I am still on my soapbox today.
I don't.
And if they don't pay a week in advance, they don't use the facility.
I don't disagree.
Actually, I would almost prefer a couple weeks in advance, because if you pay by check, that check may
Make
take
sure
up
it
2,
clears.
3 weeks.
Cashier's checks only. There you go.
We
But
well,
it
we
can
take
take
cash. We take. I mean, you think
Yeah.
about
Hey,
pavilion rentals.
This day
all
and
this
age,
stuff. All
this
this
day and
stuff
age,
falls
we just don't
into
even take checks.
this.
Either you send cash,
Yeah.
a cashier's check, or you Venmo us. I don't care, but it's not there.
So, I
Something
think
to-
it depends. I think it depends on the venue.
Something to
Because
talk
we have-
about.
Have the
Yes,
ability.
for sure.
Will you get with me though, if we're not gonna have payment, if we're gonna have a receivable balance, like the 30,
You can,
I'll
I
make
just
sure we
wanted to
have.
talk
Yeah, I'll
about
make sure
it.
we're good.
so that I know if I need to book it or not. So, sorry, side note.
No,
but
you're good. You're good.
something
with
I-
no
That's
feedback.
that's very valid. So thank you.
So that's something else we do need to talk about. Our banks, all of our banking institutions that we use, have the ability to take instant transactions to their accounts and deposit the funds into our, just like we took a check. Like now all of our banking institutions can do an instant transaction of funds, that just like if they wrote us a check, how we would go put it in our checking account and deposit it, you can do it right now. And that's where a lot of businesses now are going to, because they don't want that whole paper thing anymore.
So that would be a discussion that we would need to include the treasurer's office in.
But we need to
So
do
that
that.
we can work out the process and how that could function, because if you do that, that's going to change how we balance and how money is transferred, so that will have to be a future process.
But that's something that we need to talk about, because it limits fraud, is why everybody's starting to do it. They're getting rid of all of the checking. If people have direct bank account transactions, where it's just like you're depositing a check, but it's a virtual check, it's not a real anymore.
We may also need to see if what kind of access that provides departments to accounts. Or if we need to add accounts, or there's a lot, that's a bigger discussion.
Yeah, it should just be a payable line.
Yeah.
So,
And one of the issues we're still trying to work through is the reason we have so many pigeons up in the amphitheater is because they're runaways from the pigeon payment program that we use. See, that's not a real thing.
actually, we need to just frame in that, we just need to, yeah.
Somebody in this table had one up there to tell it. That's why.
I got them. We got to take care of it.
It's in the county.
I got a
Right.
few.
It's in the county.
So the next issue or not issue, but the next question I have on the work session agenda is regarding some space that we have at the event center that we would like to turn into an employee gym. Eventually, I'd actually like to just have a gym that all of our staff members would like to come up and use, could come up and use. But right now, I'd like to do something that allows my staff with personal equipment. We'll take that gym equipment. I'll take it up there.
No, you can have Jim down there.
Oh,
Very
that's fine,
good. You
Jim.
can come
That's-
use it.
that's below the jail.
So, are you saying below the jail is bad?
No, but it is a lot, it is a lot more,
down there.
it is a lot more convenient. But we have, in the B building, we have a large gathering area, and then we have two kind of separate offices. I would like to utilize one of those back offices and bring in some gym equipment and allow our staff to, if they wanted to come in and work out, either before or after work, that opportunity, or during lunch.
Is that space big enough that you can do the self-defense classes that you promised Tori you would do?
The B building's big enough to do it.
When I turn the B building into a complete rec center, yes.
So my only concern
Liability.
is the liabilities. One is bringing their own equipment in. And then two, I mean, we do it down here, but everybody sign a waiver to go down and use the equipment downstairs?
I don't know if no one has.
On or off company time, when they're not being paid, that's.
There's a
All
big,
company time.
there's a big,
If they're using it, I just want them, are
Well,
they signing a
but-
waiver at
but
all?
The sheriff's deputies are
I'm
authorized.
getting used to that.
Preferably.
Hey,
right?
from my
Preferably be off
understanding, the sheriff's deputies that were working out on company time.
and they have
I
a full
think
gym
there are
there
a
too.
couple
And
exempt
they have a full-
employees that do that.
I know, but I'm just, exempt employees, they're not hourly, so
Right.
it doesn't matter, but what
I
I'm
don't
saying
know
is.
if non-exempt
Yeah,
employees.
and
do
so that's what I
that.
say is we need to establish that policy.
Yeah.
Tell you the truth, I would prefer just to buy or, put it in part of the Cadillac plan and put it through the payment, and you just go do it, because then we don't have to deal with liability.
I would prefer to do that too. It's just,
Yes,
to be honest with you, it's just so low on my priority with my money
yeah, I know.
for the event center.
Well, we don't pay for it, you just are allowed to take it's a health savings plan thing that they actually offer that is it's a non-tax, or they don't tax you first because you take it out of your paycheck directly, and it helps pay for, it's allowed. We actually,
For what?
like
For
how you do your,
memberships?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't
yeah.
see where the end.
Yeah,
was
no, it's
going.
that was one of those things that we talked about, like when we were doing like childcare plans and all that. The gym membership plan is actually one of those that if you have a gym or health facility, spa, whatever that you so choose to.
So there is, and I apologize, I don't have the data in front of me, but we did some research when I was the director of training about when you have employees that work in physically rigorous
Do it the right way.
assignments, offering gymnasium and stuff like that can actually help reduce workplace injuries, right? And so there is some cost benefit to it. But from my standpoint, we work a lot. I think you guys know that.
Yeah.
Having something that's close, it's no different than the stuff we have here. The reason it's just the proximity. And so there's really a couple different things. One, I would love to have a gym up there for our staff that go up and use the facility to be able to use. And then two would be until I can get it in my budget or whatever, work it in there. Could we do something where we just buy our equipment? So I guess that's where those are at.
I don't really have a problem doing it. We just want to make sure we understand liability.
And I'd like to give legal a time to look it over
Sure.
and then come back and give us guidance on that.
Or how to do it.
Because there are two issues. One's the liability. One is the space too. Because if we don't use it for a gym, at some point I may turn it into an office for our operations folks. Because right now, we're working out of one office in a house.
Yes.
So either way, I'd like to take that space off of the rental block.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the only person here that doesn't know where the B building is, but which facility.
So if up by the racetrack, there's actually four buildings. A building is used by
The ag extension.
Yeah, the ag extension.
Or the U
Or
library.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And then B building is one that we rent out. We have kind of a pavilion in there. We have two smaller rooms.
Okay.
C
Is a storage
barn
room.
is a storage area, and then D we have set as sports plant.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about. I was just trying to square away.
Now, which one was dog training and offices?
B building.
B building.
And then Scott can work out to get ready for our arm wrestling match, right?
That he keeps.
I need to, are we doing, I thought we were,
I thought it was a
I didn't think it
real
was, I thought it was like a, something different.
Oh.
Official.
But I'm about ready to teach that class. I'm feeling pretty squirrely, to be honest with you.
No, because then you have back issues again, and you know.
If I don't have back issues from lifting the rocks I've been lifting, I think we'll do it.
I don't have a problem with us doing that, but let's just make sure we look at that. The other thing is we seriously do need to look at some office space. The house is getting quite
Cool.
full, especially talking with, and that might be some of the partnership with Go Out Local in the next of what the amount of events that they're looking at. I mean, they're talking 25 events next, and I mean, trying to figure something out to be able to do that, that's gonna be.
That's another conversation we need to have about ARPA funds.
Well, we need to have.
What we can and
yeah.
cannot do with them.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, number 3 on our list as we kind of roll thunder through this is to talk a little bit about the Polar Freeze contract. So we sent out an RFP this year to run that main concession stand, the sports concession stand. We put the RFP from May to September, the dates on the RFP from May to September. We didn't get the RFP to sign until June 25th. It really limited the season. Plus, in my own ignorance, I did not realize, hey, we have Little League football. This makes sense to have a concession stand open in October, right? So,
We just extend it. We
my
already have
thought
the
is if we
RFP
could just extend that RFP until the end of October. I know the people of Polar Freeze would appreciate that, and then in next year, when we redo this, we will just change the terms of the use to encompass that.
I'd say we just need to go ahead and we need to get, an amendment written to the RFP to extend it till October 31st. That's what it would be.
We're just gonna do an amendment. We're just gonna do an amendment on the Polar Freeze contract to
Just
to
extend it.
through the end of October. The current date goes through September,
Right.
so.
Because we still have a full month of Little League football and everything before freeze hits. We want it winterized, you know, at the end of October when it starts freezing, but.
And actually, it says to September, which is technically August 31st, so they have not been running.
Yeah, so no, we need to do that, and I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Was that published for an action item?
I think everything.
Everything on the agenda.
Actually, on that one, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we go ahead and we amend the formal document, but we authorize Polar Freeze to continue operating and providing concessions for this weekend, and until the end of October.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Good idea. Did you see how busy it was when we were up there? last
Yeah,
week?
did you?
7,500.
people.
To clarify, that would be under the conditions of their prior contract.
Yes,
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 yes.
yes. That's
Nothing
all we're doing is an
taken away,
extension
nothing in
of it. Nope,
addition
we're
to
just
it.
adding a timeframe and then moving on. Because I really don't want the 2,000 mad parents, because now there's not a concession stand open, and they finally
Well-
figured out it is
Well,
open.
or the football league runs their own.
Yeah.
We might as
And-
well capitalize on that money.
Well, and Football League really doesn't want to run it if we have one open.
Well, I don't understand though, they're still building there, and they weren't even supposed to start having games with that building still where it's at.
Scott, you need to get on that.
The dog trailer's gone.
It was moved from one location to the last, next time I was up there.
Today it is gone. I'm getting there.
And dude, you're.
So if I go up there and shut that all down, because we don't have a contract, next Saturday or Friday.
Was that a condition of the contract? I know that was something that we talked.
It was
but
talked, I don't know if it was
a
actually
condition
in.
It was a condition I give them on the record.
So, okay. Okay, can I work on that a little bit?
I'll give you more than this weekend.
Let's work on it. Please. I really don't want to deal with
Thank you, sir.
those guys either.
Please stay low.
Yeah, exactly. And so I met with a few of the folks from High School Rodeo about coming back. Our contract with those guys expired last year, or this year was the last year, the third year of the contract. And we're looking to put together another multi-year contract. And I just wanted to kind of, they have a committee that they've got to meet with. I wanted to kind of throw out a proposal to them, let them go talk about it with their committee, then bring it back, which would then we'd put into a formal contract and bring back to you guys. So I just wanted to kind of get some ground rules, if that's okay, kind of settle down, and then we can throw it out to those guys, and then let it come back to us, if that's okay.
No ATVs on our property without a liability form signed and without anybody under the age of 16 operating. I'm sick and tired of every time I go up there with ATVs and they got 45 people like a clown car and kids drag racing down the street and somebody's gonna get hurt and then we're gonna get sued.
To answer your question, this last year, sir, I was there for all of high school rodeo except for 6 hours. 22 hours a day or so. I don't know.
But
something
it
like
should
that.
be
But
us, the
we
kids.
did have
They need to be.
one group of kids that was from out of state that was tooling around, and we also had a sheriff's deputy that got them
Yeah.
per our request. So that is something that we can talk about and we can encourage them to do, but quite frankly, we have to enforce the law.
But there
And,
needs to be something in there with them to understand this,
Definitely.
because, I mean, that was, there was 2 or 3 of them that were like drag racing down the street, and they had 5 kids on the front, and 4 kids hanging on the back, and I mean, this was just asking for somebody to get hurt. And like I said, 1, we don't wanna see anybody get hurt, but 2, when somebody does get hurt, we're gonna be the ones that are gonna end up paying for it.
Sure.
And so just things like that, they've done a fairly good job. It's gotten better, but the big thing is the wood chips and all the sawdust and all that stuff. It is not our responsibility to unload it. If they bring it and they do it and we have to unload it, we're gonna charge them.
So there are
for
some
fees to do
nuances
that.
like you're speaking of that I think we can work through pretty easily. Some of the issues from year 1 when we signed the contract changed, like to last year. As an example, we had female inmates that cleaned the grandstands and cleaned all that area up. The first 2 years, we didn't have those people last year. So High School Rodeo had their folks take care of some cleaning stuff. There are going to be some concessions like that occur in these contracts as well. I think you guys are aware that I'm a big fan of providing with a good facility for people, but then having them help maintain it during the event. We want to support them, but we really want them to take ownership in keeping some of those areas clean. And then we really want people on the front or back end to provide some volunteer services for the facility.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we want to make sure that they cover costs associated, or try to cover the costs associated with some of these things, and then we try to have some sort of revenue, in some places, revenue share. Last year, what we did is they got to take the proceeds from the old RV park, and then any dry camping that occurred, and we kept the proceeds from the new RV park. And that's what I would like to do, again, just kind of a baseline. They started the contract out 3 years ago at $7,500 with a 3% increase per year. That put them at roughly $8,000 is what they paid us this year. And then I pulled how much money we made just off the RV stuff in addition, and that was a pretty decent amount of money. $30,000.
Better. But we still have, what, so 30,000
Yeah.
divided by how many years of high school
Well,
rodeo pay off
it's not just high school
RV
rodeo.
park?
We're running that RV park every day of the year. So
I
would
just was
like
taking
to-
the steam out of it. For as Ernest was gonna say, we don't get any discounts until that RV park's paid for.
I would, as a baseline for high school rodeo, I would like to essentially throw out the offer they've had in the past, add 3% to last year's contract, plus we get new RV park and they can take old RV park, and they get the same amount of stalls, that kind of stuff. This is just throwing it out to them, but I think that's where I'd like to start. What are your concerns, Mr. Clauser? See you tune your lip off.
For a week, and all the time you guys put in?
It's actually more than that. It's more than a week. With high
It's
school.
roughly 10 days, yeah.
And with that new RV park, I think part of the grant, if I remember right, is we can't sublease.
No,
that
and we
grant.
didn't, and we don't. That's why we keep
Always
the new
full
one.
fees and
We did, though.
You guys did it
We
for
did with the
junior high.
junior high. We split it 50-50.
don't let the grant go.
But we let it for the grant. The main
I thought
thing
that
was
we
is
talked about that before.
no, the grant was you couldn't exclude people on the new one. It has to stay open to the public. And so we kept it open to the public, but if you were a member of the junior high rodeo, you had
They
to
got
notify
discounts,
us, and
Yeah.
you couldn't block it, and we didn't allow them to block it all. And they had to notify us, and they had to, in order, otherwise it was full price. And they didn't get any money.
Think about all the hours you put in, and then your people put in. I mean,
I would probably say, old RV park and new RV park is ours. If they want to dry camp and not do any services, and we don't provide them with anything,
then we're just dealing with garbages and bathrooms.
garbage in bathrooms, and they can, we have.
That's still what we're doing.
We have all the bang boards for the power, which we built in, which I'm okay with them, with whatever they can charge off the power, because the power cost, to tell you the truth, is pretty de minimis.
There's a lot of money we did not
But,
capitalize on last year
I know.
from this event. There's a lot that we left on the table.
Now, there might be maybe some opportunities with some of our partners in promoting and
There,
stuff.
well, that's part of the issue
And-
is these guys provide a lot of numbers for our events because
Well,
it's
but
such a power.
I was more so talking about like, maybe talking with Jonathan and his
No,
guys
that's what I'm
and
talking
seeing
about.
if- yes.
So
And
when
maybe we look at this a
when they look
little
at selling
different.
sponsorships, this is one of the big events that draws sponsorship. If you think about it, they essentially put the same number of eyes, if not more,
Yeah.
than like Pocatello Downs does the entire year.
Well, I would say then on some of these opportunities for if they don't want to have to pay for some of the RV stuff, then there needs to be some sponsorship monies or some of that stuff that comes back into it. Where,
So there's a couple things that we're changing on the fee schedule. One, food trucks will have a fee, which we haven't done that before. So food trucks before charge $25, and you guys know there's a lot of food trucks up there for high school rodeo. So we'll actually gain.
do we have our concessions running during that time?
Well, we did not last year, but our RFP for next year
Will.
is going to include all concessions in the park, which we have got to capitalize on concessions.
And those are ours.
Those are our concessions, yeah, that's our money. And so there, what I'm saying is there's more ability for us
I
to
would
get
say-
money by having the event. The other thing is this is not a professional rodeo. These are
High schools.
kids, and I know they're from all over the place, but I love these youth events.
What I would ask, Mr. Chairman, is maybe with legal, to maybe put some ideas together for contractual discussion, because it's a contractual matter that is in competition then with other entities. We could go into an executive session to discuss maybe the initial terms of what we would like to see, and then allow that to move forward, and then when they came back, then we could discuss that in the open contract. Is that, Mr. Chairman?
We are in competition. I know they've gone and got bids from other places.
I know.
I was gonna ask you, after speaking with them, is your sense that they're,
I know where they're. No, they want to be here.
Well, they can
definitely
try
wanna
and
be
go,
here.
but there's nowhere else in the state that can accomplish this. And they found this out the hard way. They left, and they've had a very miserable experience, and then they figured out that Bannock County really was where they need to be.
well, I don't know if that was.
Well, it's someplace that I would like to have them.
Yeah.
It's part of I think it's our plan, and tying these guys up in another 3 years.
And like I said, I like having the event here. I'm not opposed to the event, but to go with Christie's point and everybody else's, it's hey, if we're not having to subsidize the event, that's my thing. Is we're not subsidizing it, it's taken care of. And that's really the point that I get back to, is if we can do that and we have a partner that wants to be a partner with us, and not them showing up and directing everything and we spend a whole bunch of money to support their event, you know.
Well, I just look at what we just asked the university to do.
I know, so, yeah.
And they come in at $10,000.
Mhm.
And that's a third of what you told us that we could have charged.
Yeah, the
And I
majority of
think-
the majority of the charges for these guys is the stall rentals.
And we get zero out of stall rentals.
No, we don't get any of that stall rentals.
So that's all I'm saying is I'm kind of at the baseline right there. The initial cost is right around that, and we take the new RV
So
park.
your initial cost is 10,000 plus 3% each year, and the new RV park is there.
That's where I'm kind of sitting. Like I say, we've asked out of or college. It's just
I still think it would just be a good thing.
we still are. I'll bet we're still probably about a third of what
Let's go through.
the fees would be.
Oh, I think again, yeah, we could talk a little about fees and how.
That's where we could have another session and go into an executive
Yeah, and
session.
I think we need
talk
to
more about specific numbers.
What I would-
Some of that.
what I would like to do, and again, the reason I'm bringing this up is because they want to move forward and get a contract as quickly as possible, so do we, right? I want to kind of bounce them something that's going to be relatively acceptable starting point, right? Then they can take it to their group, they can kind of talk about it, come back to us.
And I think that we need to have Jeff here with that discussion, so when Jeff gets back, I know there's a family emergency there, as soon as he gets back, I think,
He's
again,
out of town next week, so
Yep.
it'd be
the following Tuesday, as we could do it, or Monday.
the 13th.
But
week of the 13th.
we could do something and give that initial what we would like to do, because I'd like to have, because this is a big event, it's a big thing, I'd like to have all three of us here for that, and just maybe let's talk and make sure that we have some of the initial things that we will not budge on, and certain things that would be allowed into the discretion of the director for negotiation purposes.
And Scott, put together some of the revenue that we're gonna get, like the RV park, the concessions, the food trucks.
And some of those things we know, some of the things we don't.
Well,
Swag it.
We
yeah.
could estimate.
And then also, I mean, take into account how much they help clean up stalls and that kind of stuff. Because even though we don't receive that revenue, you're not expending that time. So if we take all those factors into consideration, and I wasn't thinking like, 20 grand, 30 grand, I like nothing. I'm not authority or have a say in this, but I like the $10,000.
I just kind of,
And then, but if we look
looking.
at the revenues on the other sides, that helps show.
And like I said, I think we come into an executive session and we just figure out what are the hard points and what are the points that we'll leave it to direct.
and at the same time, we need to be talking about where we're at with junior high.
Yes, because that's gonna affect it as well.
They compare,
This is
they're
the
talking
first,
back and forth.
well, actually, ISU was the first contract, but I want to get, this one, and there's going to be more contracts that come forward,
Yes.
so.
But as we're
Grading
talking
system.
about high school, we might as well be talking about
Because junior high's right behind it. It's
Yeah.
basically,
Right.
we gotta make sure that
What
we're.
direction?
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
so we'll get that on the schedule for an executive session?
Yep.
Okay.
As soon as Jeff gets back. Okay.
All right, and then the last thing is, as you know, we're doing we're kind of in the middle of a big cleanup project, trying to get the facilities looking nice. We had a big community event yesterday and had a lot of people show up. It was
Sure.
awesome. We had about 300 people or so
Nice.
that were there, and they pulled a lot of garbage out of our facility that I just was shocked.
Did we burn the USS Portland?
No, we moved it though.
Okay.
But that does lead me
SS
to what we have up there. We have a lot of questionable use items. I'll just say that we have a lot of questionable use items. Today actually over the last couple of days, we've undertaken cleaning up a corner by our office, and what we could see was probably 5 or 6 rolls of fencing. Since we started digging into it, we have filled 3 full trailers with just fencing of all different sizes, 3 foot, 4 foot, 8 foot, 6 foot, 5 foot, rolls of old fencing that I have no idea if it's even, I can tell you on
Chain
our
link?
facility, on our facility, I don't think that we'd use it anymore on our facility, because the new fences we put up, I want them to look nice, like the black fencing that we use, and so, but we have a lot of items, gates, horse panels that are 100 years old, some that are damaged, some that are not damaged, but we have, it is amazing how much garbage we've just hung on to, and we quite frankly don't have any place to put it, and so I'd like to get rid of stuff that I think we can get rid of. Keep stuff we can keep, and maybe if there's a way to sell some stuff, great. But like, I look at all this fencing, I would rather give it to the landfill and let them collect the price for the metal. It's just a big wad of string.
I could go to the auction though.
Sure.
I mean,
You might just go.
rolls of chain link fencing. that you can just-
Rolls of chain link fencing, though, if it's messed up, you probably just take your Pacific Recycling and get whatever money out of it and it goes back to the county. I mean, really, if it's that messed up.
We've got trailers full of it. I mean, like literally 2 flatbed trailers.
Because of the old fence that they pulled up. It's the old, it's not black, right?
No.
No, so it's the old fence that was up there where the soccer fields were. There was a chain link fence in the middle that they had to move, where the horse track was, and they moved it, and they moved posts, and they reused posts, a lot of the chain link was messed up, and that's why they redid it. So a lot of that, I would probably say, is
It's
probably
just been
unserviceable.
sitting rolls.
I'd tell you, if it's salvageable and you can use it,
Use it.
then take care of it.
I
If-
will, yes.
If you feel like somebody in the county can use it, then we'll keep it. Otherwise, go to
Wherever.
either the dumps
Or the
or
auction.
the auction or
Pacific.
to Pacific.
Okay.
But what about the boat? It's an abandoned,
Well-
we have no idea whose it is. What about abandoned stuff on the fairgrounds?
Someone abandoned a boat.
It's
Yeah.
a piece of crap.
Put it on the
Really?
reservoir and make it,
I said we sink it for scuba diving.
It would somehow like puncture the liner. I mean, like just how things work. It would puncture the liner. We would leak out. There would
The
be
dam would fail.
right, like the whole world.
Chubbuck
would
would
change.
wash away.
Yeah. So
But it's been out there for a while and all.
Yeah, it's been there
Yeah.
for 10 years.
And we have a scraper that I talked to the individual that owned it. Told him to come get it. It's been on the facility for a lot of years too.
That land
He's,
plane.
he's been contacted by multiple commissioners, told to come get it. He never has.
we have two
Salvage.
Yep.
diesel trailers
FOIs, found on
that have
installation.
no owner on the VIN number. I've had the sheriff's office run them. There's no registered owner on the VIN number. So we have a lot of that kind of stuff that's just been there. There's a couple vans up there. I mean, like I have no idea who stuff belongs to. And so it obviously if it falls in that category of unclaimed property, then we've got to run through legal to get rid of it. But like Dewey Towing won't take it because there's no owner to charge. There's no title. So we run into some weird issues where
It goes to
literally it's just
landfill and
gonna
they
go to
tear it
landfill,
apart
like,
and salvage it?
Let's have an event.
Scrap yard?
$5 a swing with baseball bat.
Now these are semi-trailers. These are worth, this wouldn't even be fun.
Yeah.
If it was a car,
tractor, you got up
Oh, the trailers. Oh, our tractor's not near that cool, but I would love to.
you could
borrow
ask,
some of
you
that.
could ask the National Guard if they'd like to run something over.
there. Or if the monster trucks want to use it.
We'd be happy to look into it to see if
Yeah,
it's
we
a
just need to get
process or
through
not.
But
We need
what,
to-
what I'd like you to do too is take a picture. That's what we've had everybody else that we've salvaged or
Take pictures.
just take a picture and we'll have it on the record. This
Okay.
goes here, this goes there, this
Get rid
goes
of it.
there.
Of everything that we get rid of, you want to take a picture of the document?
But
Just something.
Just
If
no
that's-
overall-
We have like tractor rims,
Well, no.
right? Like we have old
Okay.
fence posts.
So again,
I mean, just
salvageable with
if I think there's
value,
some value to it.
I would
I mean,
just,
what is what's
it's the metal scrap. So what I'd say is if it's not a salvageable item, if it is deemed not salvageable or usable, then there just needs to be a memo of, hey, general metal parts, pieces, blah, 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 no assessed value, minimal value, and we're taking it to the scrap metal pile, and they're gonna give us the money for it, and it goes to general account.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to do it.
And when you take stuff to Pacific, we've already got it set up with them. You drop it off, you give us the receipt that they give you, they mail us the check that day.
Yeah, and
And this process, quite frankly, is going to be for a lot of items. We changed out our hand towel
things,
systems a year ago, and I've got buildings full of old hand towel
machines.
machines
Do
that.
the voters want them back? Call Hanson's and ask them if they want their dispensers back, they may want them.
There's just a lot we got to disposition in the next little bit, but
a lot of it's gonna be at your discretion. I'm just
You're-
telling you.
We need a FOI, found on installation policy. We have to do this in my other life because stuff just collects. And we need a FOI where something is found on installation, a tractor trailer, it has an identifiable mark, you take it, we have a policy of, hey, this is where we go through. If it's not claimed, we can't identify it, then it goes to salvage or it goes to the auction yard or it goes with the claim title. However we do it, this is how we do it. We just write the policy, and I think this is where it's going to be up to you to kind of write that. I know that's one more thing to add on your plate, but kind of how you want to do that policy. We approve it, and then it doesn't even have to come back. There's a memo of understanding this is what we're doing.
All I say is that nobody has the ability to take anything home.
Yep, nobody takes it.
yeah.
That's the deal that covers us.
And we might wanna think about putting up signs too, to where just leaving stuff there, letting you know.
That way,
Do you have any-
Don't give them any ideas. Don't give them.
So we do have some like Dewey signs that say abandoned, abandoned
Right.
vehicles.
Oh, you do?
Road. But really, we should have county-specific signs that say something a little bit different. Dewey's requires those in order to tow, but the issue I found with those guys is, since we're the people that call them, they wanna charge us for the storage if somebody doesn't come to claim it. So I think we need to have another process. But, if you guys wanna come up and take a look at some of the things, just to kinda wrap your head around the types of items we're talking about, we'd love to have you come take a look. All day, every day, we got one. So, that is all I have.
All right. That being said, we're adjourned.